Hey, what is going on everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and in this video here, we're going to be revisiting our old friend here, the original Xbox, and I'm going to be showing you all if you have a stock original Xbox system, meaning it has not been hard modded or soft modded, completely stock, how you can get this connected and registered and working with Insignia. Now, for anybody who does not know, Insignia, as it shows right here, is the free replacement service for Xbox Live 1.0, which allows you to use this third-party service and get connected on your original Xbox or an original Xbox emulator using the actual Xbox Live service. It is essentially a recreation of that original Xbox Live. It does not use any type of tunneling technology, so this is different from Xlink Kai or XB Connect or any of those other LAN tunneling services. This is actually using the Xbox Live capabilities on the console and within games. However, some people might be wondering why this video is being made when I've done a couple of setup videos before. Well, there has been a new breakthrough in the world of original Xbox modding. You see, before, in order to take a stock system and get it connected to Insignia, you essentially had to do the same method you would use for a soft mod, meaning that you would need an exploit save and an accompanying game such as Splinter Cell, 007 Agent Under Fire, MechAssault, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, you had to track down one of those games. Well, there is a newly released exploit out for the original Xbox called ENDGAME, and what this allows you to do is really launch an exploit as an entry point from the dashboard itself. And all you need is a storage device using a memory unit or a properly set up USB drive. You no longer need to track down any games. You don't need to worry about having a working DVD drive, although you might want one here since you're going to be playing online with Insignia. But the thing is, you no longer need to track down any specific variants of games or even use a game as an entry point. As long as you're able to get some storage connected to your console, you should be able to run this successfully. So thankfully that makes the job easier here. And that's also to say, if you have a console that has already been registered and connected to Insignia, you do not have to follow this video again. Alternatively, if you have a soft modded or hard modded console which has not been connected and you want to get it online with Insignia, this would not be the video for you. I do have another video showcasing how to do that on a modified system. That one is still working just fine and I'd recommend following that one. But this here is going to be the new guide for stock systems. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into the prerequisites for what we will need. First of all, you are going to need an original Xbox console such as this. You cannot do this on an Xbox 360. This is going to be on the original Xbox console. It's going to need to be up and running and working, and you're also going to need to get internet connected to it. Secondly, you're also going to need to make sure your console is running the latest dashboard. In order to do this, from the dashboard itself, you can go down to Settings, go all the way down to System Info, and tap A. Now it's going to bring up a lot of text here, and you're just going to wait for it to scroll all the way down, because we're going to look for the dashboard number. And what you are looking for the D value is 5960. As long as it shows right here, 5960, this is the final dashboard for the original Xbox, and that is exactly what we need. So we are in a very good spot. If your number is lower than 5960, you are going to need to update your dashboard. This can thankfully be done pretty easily. You're going to need to have a later stage or later release Xbox title. The best-selling title for the original Xbox, Halo 2, which is something you might already have on disc, would be a prime example. All you need to do is take a game that is Xbox Live enabled, pop it into your original Xbox, go to the Xbox Live section of that game, and if you are on an outdated dashboard, it should trigger an update to update you to the latest dashboard from that disc. Like I said, if you're able to get a later release game, but something like Halo 2, again being the most commonly sold game on the original Xbox, you're able to update your system just fine. But as long as your system is up and running, working, connected to the internet, and has the latest dashboard, there's going to be some hardware that we will need for this, and I'll go ahead and show you on the computer. Now there's going to be two methods of storage that you can use for this, and I'm going to show you how to set up both of them. The first one here is going to be ideally if you only have one original Xbox and you're wanting to use a USB drive. You're going to need to use an adapter, of course. So something like this, which is a Xbox controller port to female USB adapter, is going to work just fine. There's going to be links for all these down below in the description, And really when it comes down to it, depending on where you buy it from and which site, typically they're all going to work fine, but really the more expensive ones will just be the ones that get to you sooner, as opposed to having to wait to import it from somewhere such as AliExpress. So you can just choose where you want to get it from depending on your budget and your wait time. Next up is going to be getting a small USB drive. Now you might be thinking something like a 32 gig, a 16 gigabyte, 8 gigabyte USB drive. No, you're going to need to go smaller. Think something like a 1 gigabyte, a 512 megabyte, not gigabyte, a 512 megabyte or even less. So I have links to these down here, and typically if you see these here, they might be in packs of 10 or other packs here, but if you can get a single individual one, that would be good. I've had some good luck with black swivel drives like this. As you can see, this here is a small one for $649 that is 512 megabytes. Typically the smaller USB drive you can go with, the smaller and older ones, the better your success rate is going to be. So if you're thinking of getting something like this, just like a SanDisk 512 gigabyte, this one is not going to work. Keep in mind the original Xbox is incredibly picky when it comes to USB drives. Here's some listings over on eBay, but like I said, these are for 512 megabyte and such, but even something like a 128 megabyte, a 256 megabyte, those ones you're going to have a higher success rate with on the original Xbox. You're just going to want to look for something small that's really not going to hold a lot of storage. Now, the second option that I'd like to include in here for anybody who might have another Xbox on hand, let's say you have a modified Xbox and you want to play online with your stock Xbox and keep it stock for whatever reason, is you could also use a memory unit. Essentially, you would be using a memory unit and then you're going to use your network to transfer over the files that are required. So if you want to use an original memory unit such as this, the one that plugs into the controller, you're welcome to do that as well too. Do I recommend it? I mean, either way works on this. I would personally go with the USB method, and I think that's what most people will do. However, like I said, if you have another Xbox on hand which has already been modified and you have a memory unit, you could also do the same thing here. Just keep in mind though, you only need to go with one option for this. So like I said, if you're not having luck or if you don't want to use a USB drive and you have a modified Xbox and a memory unit, you can go with this. Or if you only have one console or you just want to use USB on this, go ahead and get an adapter and a USB drive. Now to actually get started on here, we're really just going to be adapting the Insignia Getting Connected or Connect guide into a video visual format right here. So if you want to check this out, I'm going to have it linked down below in the description just for essentially the source material right here that I'm going to be referencing. So if there's any confusion, you can check this out, and we're just going to be checking out the stock system setup itself here. However, once you're ready to get started, there's going to be a few downloads we will need. The first one, of course, is going to be the Insignia Setup Assistant. The link for the GitHub will be down below in the description, and once you're here, you can click on the releases section. And then once you're over here, grab the latest release and you're going to download the stock.zip because as you can see, it is for stock systems. Just download this stock.zip file and save it somewhere you can easily find it. Now, if you're going to be using the USB transfer method, it would be recommended to use Fat Explorer for the file transfer itself. Now, not just regular Fat Explorer, you're going to need the latest Fat Explorer beta. So over from the website here, you're going to click on 3.0 beta. And from here, you can check out all the information that is put up about this, but you're going to need to download this here. You will need the .NET 8 desktop runtime, so if you're using a 64-bit Windows operating system, download the 64-bit version of the runtime and the 64-bit Fat Explorer beta. Alternatively, if you're using a 32-bit OS, get the 32-bit versions. If you're confused on it, what I would recommend, download these 64-bit versions, and if they don't work, you're going to have to go 32-bit. However, once you have both of these downloaded, you should be okay on the software side here. And finally, if you're going to be one of the people using a memory unit and an already modified Xbox as your entry point, you're going to need to connect this through your network and you're going to do some FTP transfers. If you have a modified system, you should have done this before at one point, but you can use any type of FTP software for this. I'm using Windows and my preferred client is WinSCP. You can just download this and install it. If you're going to be using the USB drive method, take your USB drive, plug it into your adapter, and we're going to get the adapter plugged into the console. But do keep in mind when you do this here, if it is successful, it is going to wipe all the data off the USB drive instantly. So if you have any data you care about, please back it up now and then do this. But for this here, once you have this all set up, we're going to navigate up tap A to go into the memory section, and once you're here, plug in your adapter with the USB drive. Now it happens pretty quickly, but if you get a message like this saying the memory unit you inserted isn't working correctly and it has been erased, then you can tap A, and congratulations, it has been formatted and it is working on the original Xbox. Or if you get something like this, where I'm going to slow down this in video, but if your Xbox essentially starts strobing a lot on screen, that means that that USB drive is not compatible. So you're going to have to get another USB drive and try it out. However, this one, as you can see, is working for me and it has been formatted for the original Xbox. So since it has been, I'm going to unplug it, and now we've done the prep work for the USB drive on the system itself. So we can exit out of here and go back over to our computer to get the files transferred over. Over at the PC, you should have the desktop runtime and Fat Explorer downloaded. For this here, go ahead and double click and run the desktop runtime itself. Now, I've already installed this here, but you're going to have to just go through the process of clicking it next and going through the installation process. Mine's going to be repair here. It will look a little different, but it should just be something like this where it quickly installs this. Once that's been installed, we can click on close. Now grab the file, grab Fat Explorer, and since it's a zip archive, we can right click this and go ahead and extract it out here. It should give you a folder like this. You can open up the Fat Explorer folder, and inside of here, you'll need to open up the Fat Explorer executable. Double click this, say yes, and it looks a little something like this. We are also going to need to install a driver in order to get our USB drive read. So you can come over here to driver not installed, click on it, and it'll ask if you want to install this driver. Go ahead and click on install and wait. You are going to have to now restart your computer for this, so click on restart now. Once your computer restarts, open up the Fat Explorer folder yet again, and open up Fat Explorer, say yes, and it should now be working with the driver installed. At this point, you can now plug in your USB drive into your computer. If you get a prompt anywhere showing and asking you to format the drive, always click cancel. You do not want to reformat this drive. However, once it's been connected on Fat Explorer, click on devices and click on refresh and let it search for a device. It should bring up a USB disk formatted for the original Xbox. Click on this. Click on load device, and once it's loaded, you can select the data partition and then select any drive letter you want to mount it to. I'm just going to mount it to X by default and click on mount data partition on X. Now it will also give you a message like this here if you've never run this before, saying that this is a paid feature. Now I do like Fat Explorer, and if you are going to use it long term, I'd recommend giving it a purchase. However, if you're just wanting to do this once or twice here, the 7-day trial should be more than enough. So you can go ahead and start or continue a trial. I'm going to click on this here, and as you can see, if we now go back, we have the USB drive properly mounted under our drive letter X. So this here is the data that is going to show up on the console itself. We now need to get the save transferred over. So for this, you can grab the stock.zip, right click it, and extract it into its own folder. Double click the stock folder that's been created, and inside of here there should be a helper folder, a trigger folder, and a payload executable. Highlight all three of these, right click, copy, and inside of here we're going to copy them to the root of the USB drive. So that means you quite literally just open up the USB drive, right click, and paste, and it should look exactly like this. Once that's all been completed, we can close out of this here, go to devices on Fat Explorer, click on our USB drive, click on unmount, and then close out of Fat Explorer. And you can see I have this empty drive here, which is drive H. I know this is our USB drive, but to be safe, we can right click this and eject it, and we can now remove it. Alternatively, if you're going to be using the memory unit with an already modified Xbox to transfer over the files, you're going to need to fire up your modified Xbox. Make sure it is connected to the network. You can see in the bottom right hand corner of the screen, mine has been connected to my local network, and plug in your memory unit to the controller itself. Now navigate over to the File Explorer, come over here, and as you can see under H, this is my memory unit. I can tap A on this, and I actually already have this loaded up, but I'm going to clear this out just by tapping X on all of these, hit start, go down, delete, and say yes, just to clear that out. So as you can see, I have an 8 megabyte memory unit, which is completely free and clear, but keep note of which drive letter your memory unit is. Now go back, again, make sure you note down your IP address here for your console and go over to your computer. You'll need to install WinSCP or use whatever FTP client you want to use, But once you are ready to go, make sure you can open up a remote tab, and to connect to our Xbox, we need to do FTP with no encryption, enter in the IP address, this should be port 21, and then the username is Xbox, and the password is the exact same. Click on login, give it a few seconds, and it should bring up something like this. On the right, these are all the drives that are on our Xbox, and H is the memory unit. You can double click on the memory unit itself, and now you can transfer over these stock files. So if you download this stock.zip, you can right click this and extract it into its own stock directory. Open up the stock directory, and from here, we can just grab the helper, trigger, and payload executable, highlight all of them, and from here, you can really just drag and drop them onto the right side of WinSCP. It should take a few seconds to upload them through the network, but as you can see, that's about it. So we have this all saved and transferred, and our memory unit is now ready to go. So we can disconnect from our FTP server here. And now on the modified Xbox, we can go ahead, shut this down, and then transfer over the memory unit over to our console. Again, you only need one method, USB drive or memory unit. Just pick whichever one works for you. Now that we have these saves set up, one thing we have to do here is configure the network settings. So for this, what you can do is check out the Getting Connected guide. And I'm going to show this, of course, here on screen, but I'd still recommend double checking this just in case this ever changes. But you can scroll down to the hard modded, soft modded systems section. You're going to want to look for the DNS that we're going to connect to. And this is it right here, 46.101.64.175. We're going to need to set that as our primary DNS. And then it is recommended to set another DNS provider such as Cloudflare or Google as your secondary DNS. To configure this on the original Xbox, of course, make sure it is up and running and make sure it is connected to your network. Now go down to settings and go into network settings. And once we're in here, we're going to need to set that DNS server. So go down to DNS servers. Inside of here, flip this from automatic to manual and change the primary DNS. Now, according to the site, we're going to set it to 46.101.64.175 as the primary. Hit done. And for the alternate DNS, it is recommended to change this to either Google's or Cloudflare's. So Cloudflare, for example, is 1.1.1.1. Google's is 8.8.8.8. Just pick whichever one works for you and hit done. Once that's completed, we can go back, and now we can navigate back because we are going to need to now actually run the save exploit itself. So once that's all completed, we can come up to memory, and at this point, you're now going to need to plug in the USB drive or the memory unit which has the save on there. I'm using a USB drive for this, and do keep in mind it is going to make it look like your Xbox is frozen or crashed, and that is to be expected. That is what we're looking for. In order to launch this, go down to your controller port which has the memory unit, tap the A button, and wait. You should come to a screen like this where it's just going to have this floating orb and the rest of it's going to be black. This again is to be expected. Just wait for this. It should then go to a black screen, which we just need to wait a little longer, and then the Insignia Setup Assistant should come up. Now, in order to register your console, you can tap the D-pad down button to navigate over to register Xbox, and then tap the A button. Give this a few seconds here because it is going to look like nothing is happening. If it gives you this message, that means that the network settings are correct and our console, as you can see, has been successfully registered. Now, one thing to keep in mind, especially for people using stock consoles, is every single hard drive on an original Xbox is paired to a specific console motherboard, and those hard drives are locked. These consoles are old, they are aging, and one of the things to go on these consoles is the hard drive. So if you ever need to replace the hard drive on a stock or soft modded system, you do have to lock it to the specific hard drive key. So for this system here, it would be helpful. You can go down to View HDD key, tap the A button, and here you have the hard drive key for your specific system. You might want to take a screenshot of this, take a photo of it, keep it on hand, just do something with it here to make sure it is safe and paired to your specific console. But you can tap close, and once you're all done here, you can go down to Quit Setup Assistant, tap A, and quit yet again. To make sure again that our connection is all good, you can go down to Settings, go down to Network Settings, and once this loads in, you're going to scroll all the way down to Connect and tap the A button. and go ahead, let it do a connection test. Now ideally you should get 4 green lights like this, and if everything is all good on the test, then congratulations, you are all good to go. You will only get these 4 green lights if your console has successfully been registered. So as long as it's been registered and you're getting these 4 lights, then you are good to go with the next step here. The console has been successfully registered, but now you need to walk through the process of going through the account registration so you can create your gamer tag and then get it set up on your system. I will have the insignia.live site linked down below in the description. You're just going to need to find where you can register an email address. Make sure it is a valid email address that you have access to and you can sign in on. Enter in that email address and submit it to the site so that you can continue on with registration. Now, if you've registered, you should get a confirmation email for that, but you are also going to need to get another email here, which is going to have your one-time use 25-character code. Once you have this, we can make our way back over to the Xbox console because we can use this to sign up for Insignia Live. Back over at the console, go down to the Xbox Live tab and come down to New Account. Once you get here, you're just going to continue on. And from here, you are going to need to select the country that you are in. Now, not every country is going to be on this list. However, it has been recommended if you cannot find your exact country on this list, pick the country that's going to be closest to you in proximity. This could be useful and needed when it comes to network connectivity and such. However, I'm going to be using United States here, so go ahead, pick that. From here, you're going to need to go over the terms of use associated with Insignia and accept them to continue on. And at this point, you can now choose your gamer tag. So I'm going to go ahead and punch my gamer tag in. Once you've been able to settle on a unique gamer tag, go ahead, hit done. And if no one else has claimed that gamer tag, you should be able to continue on to the activation portion. So here where you type in the subscription code, this is going to be the one that you got in your email. So go ahead, pull up that email and type in that 25-character code. Now thankfully this is not case sensitive, but you do need to enter it in exactly. So once you have your subscription code, go ahead, press continue. And if it is a good code, at this point you should get these purchase details showing that you really owe nothing because this is going to be a free service. So continue on. Now once you come here, you can go ahead and give this a quick read as well. However, this section is going to be important. Do not enter in a real credit card number. You will need to enter in a fake credit card number, which is going to be this one on screen right here. If you don't want to write this down, that's fine. It's easy enough to remember, but I'm also going to type it up here on the next screen. From here, you can continue on. And at this point, we now need to enter in our credit card details. Again, don't use legitimate credit card details for this. It is going to be provided on here, but you'll just have to hit Visa for the payment method. For the card holder name, go ahead, enter in any name that works. And for the credit card number, you're going to hit 4 and then fill out the rest with 1s. And that's all there is to it. Go to done. For the expiration date, really just put something in the future here. And for the phone number, you can really just do about the same thing. I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0. Call that good and hit continue. And at this point, you'll now need to enter in that same email address that you got that subscription code sent to. So again, make sure this is an email address you want to tie everything to and that you can access it. Once you continue on, here you can say yes or no to these other pages here. I'm just going to personally say no to these, even though it doesn't matter all too much. However, once we have our gamer tag available, if this is what you want, you can say yes to create your account. And congratulations, you should now have your account available. At this point here, there's going to be another step that we need to proceed with in order to access the full features of Xbox Live, really being voice chat and a few other things here. So from here, you can go down, hit done. It should bring you back to this page here and go back into your account itself. So I'm going to select the Mario account. Now you'll need to go to account management. And from here, we need to activate the account settings. But when we go in here, we're going to need the last 4 digits of a credit card. However, it's not going to be all ones. It's going to be a specific 4 digits that are tied to your account. So we're going to now have to go back over to our computer one last time for our account on Insignia. You should now have a welcome email after you have gotten set up, in which you can follow the link on there and you'll be able to log in and continue on once you set up your password and such on here. Now once you get signed in, you'll need to click on your name and click on dashboard to bring you to the dashboard. You'll have your profile. You'll also be able to select which server you want to use for Phantasy Star Online, but most importantly, you're going to have recovery info. This here is going to contain another 4-digit number, which you will need. As you can see, you're going to have a card type of Visa, but there's also going to be a card number here with 4 numbers at the end of it. You're going to need these 4 numbers on your account settings on your console. So make sure you keep these 4 numbers in mind and head back over to your console. Again, once you're in account management, go ahead, find account settings, hit OK, and here you're going to punch in those 4 numbers that you need. Do not share these with anyone. This is going to be specific to your account. Once you've entered them, it should bring you here. And at this point, you're going to have to go to voice and enable this. You should also see premium purchases. We can set to enable, even though it is there, and created content can be enabled. So there we go. That's really the last thing that you're going to need there for your setup. But at this point, you are done. You've been able to set up everything for your Gamertag. So there we go. We are at the end of this video, but as you can see, congratulations, you should be all good to go at this point. Your console should now be up and running, working, registered, and you should hopefully have your Gamertag on your system and actually be using the Xbox Live functionality of your original Xbox itself. This is a little bit of an involved process, mind you, but hey, if you end up getting to the end here, congratulations, you were able to get to a pretty awesome spot. And thankfully here, again, this here has been made much easier because there is a setup that has to be done on this, but you no longer need an exploit game as your entry point. So we did not have to track down MechAssault, Agent Under Fire, Splinter Cell, or any of that. You really just need a memory unit that has the saves on hand, and that's all there is to it. Now do keep in mind, if you do want to get rid of your saves on here, if you're using a USB drive, you would either have to remove the saves through Fat Explorer by mounting it on your computer, or just format it on your PC. And if you are using a memory unit itself, you can fire that up on the File Explorer on a modified Xbox, go into the memory unit and just delete the files and folders, and you should be good at that point. So you can use that storage for your console for other saves. Anyways, that is about it for this video here. Hopefully it helped out. Hopefully it was a good refresher, and for anybody who might be connecting to Insignia for the first time, I hope you do have some fun with the service, and I hope this was made much easier thanks to no longer requiring an exploit game since we have ENDGAME for this. Anyways, that is about it for this video here. If you enjoyed this video and it helped out, a like would absolutely be appreciated. And if you didn't like it, a dislike is fine as well too. As I always say though, this is Mr. Mario, signing off. Thank you all for watching, everyone.